Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Washington, D.C., it's Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio. Now, here's your host, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram.
Good evening, everyone. This is Michael Anthony Ingram. I'd like to welcome you to the program. My very special guest tonight is the one and only Scott Simmons. He's the poetry editor of the Dope Theme Daily, and his newest book, The Editor's Manifesto, is available now on Amazon.com. Scott, are you with me?
Yes, Michael, and you are sounding very beautiful tonight. It's lovely to be here.
You. Thank you. It's always good to have that kind of affirmation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly, let's begin this journey. What is poetry, Scott?
Well, it's kind of a tough question. Like, to me, it's kind of tough in the sense, like, I never really started thinking this, like, oh, I'm going to be a great poet. No, it's kind of like, oh, I know a writer. I need to write, too. Then I got editing more, and I got involved with this stuff. So it's just like, well, hell, I got to learn how to do this eventually. And then it became more of an expression thing where it's like, oh, wow, I can actually say stuff that means things versus just like going like crazy with it and all that.
So you say you can say stuff that means things. Tell me more about that. What are you talking about?
Generally my favorites are like either me being a total smart ass, which is like very natural for me, or occasionally when I like actually looked at myself more as a person and I'm like, wow, Scott, like you're a bit fucked up, but it's kind of interesting to like touch on this stuff. It's like, man, I'm a pain in the ass even to myself.
Okay. You just called yourself a pain in the ass.
I am.
I guess it's important to know it, but I mean, I guess I've never had a guest to do that before.
Well, I'm an editor, so it's like really natural. Like I try to actually wait longer, just so like you get that bit of like hope or fear, like, oh, did he accept my work? Did he?
Right,
oh no,
right.
no.
Well, share a poem. Share a poem. That's what we'll do. We'll share a poem.
I'll read. Let's see. I'll start with this. It's called "Fuck It." Something I wrote recently. Okay, fuck it. If you're afraid to hurt somebody, don't be. If you're afraid to be hurt, then don't be. Because all writers are insufferable assholes. Hence, I'm one too. Instead, just grab a beer and watch the chaos. Or do whatever the fuck you want. But think for yourself, dumbass. End. Very pleasant.
Wow. That was short, quick, straight to the point. Now, do you think that a person could be a good editor and not be a poet?
That's very hard for me to say because I do think, on a serious note, that writing actually has to be a better editor because I can like empathize at times, where I can be like, oh, hey, this has a point to it. Where if like I didn't write at all, I'd just like, oh, this is okay. Let me just not think about this. Just put this up because this person like has a cool picture. I mean, it gives you a new perspective, in my opinion. So.
Well, let's go back into your past for a second. What was an early experience where you felt that poetic language had power, where you learned that poetic language had power?
Actually, it's like when I was like around, let's say 14, 15, I had like had an English teacher that was actually pretty cool. Like we talk about stuff like the beat poets, stuff like that, Kerouac, Howsky. We'd read some of their books and kept me really talking there. And I also got like my first publication when I was about 15. And that was when I had to write an interview for this rapper called, like, I think Mansour Salstein or something like that. Oh, man, that was a pain in the ass. The guy just, like, rambled on for about, like, an hour, and I had to, like, cut half of everything he said. So it felt very, very important to do that interview. But, like, I don't know. It was kind of, it was weird. But, no, and after that, like, I don't know. I kind of took a break from writing for quite a bit because I didn't get real publication until I was, like, about 19, I think.
Okay.
That's when I got into it, though.
So at the age of 19, you really got into writing.
That's when it started.
You on then?
At that point, I just wanted to piss a lot of people off. I would write extremely crazy things, and I would make them intentionally terrible. I just got like, oh wow, this stuff can be so ridiculous sometimes. Like, whenever like I'm reading some submissions, it's like, dude, like, okay, for one, you just said like you hated me, and now you're sending me a submission, kiss my ass. Oh wow, I take this very seriously. It would be nuts.
Why do you? Why do you think that poetry is important, my friend?
Whenever you're like,
it's important?
Okay, I think poetry actually is important, despite how much like I'll give it shit. Like, because whenever you're really doing it and you're writing because you actually want to write whatever you're doing, that's what really matters. Because you need your own voice out there. I mean, it can't just be, like, oh yeah, I want to get more likes because like I care about being popular. No, you like the point of it is you need to give it. You need to actually care about what you're saying. It always should be an art if you're doing it serious.
As you think about your work, what are some of the predominant themes?
I'd say quite a bit of it is showing hypocrisy at times. I'll also kind of touch on, just different emotions. I'll try to take on myself. I'll try to take on others. Sometimes I'll try to, I don't know, I just try to be myself in different ways. And, like, I try to show off different sides of things, too. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to quite explain that, but it's really just me trying to be myself as much as possible, plus a little bit of bullshit from us people.
Okay, when I read the book, I felt that you were world-weary, that you had seen so much in a short period of time, and that you were tired in a sense. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's not inaccurate. Like, I've seen a lot of different stuff. Like, even with just the last few years, right? It's like I've gained and lost at least 4 friends during this stuff because of just silly drama, where like all this stuff goes to your head. Like, what just went to their head. I had like a death threat, which I found hilarious.
Okay.
I've seen people get I've seen people like get pissed because like, oh yeah, everything in this is supposed to be lowercase. I just didn't tell you. Or like, oh, let me not separate the title from my submission. Let me complain to you about this for like 5 minutes. And then you'll tell you how great your publication is, like on my Facebook wall. And like, it comes from like bad experience because like you have to deal with like a lot of people that can be like creative types, just like really moody, all that. And some of it also just came from like living around like around older people and events from my personal life too.
Right, because you're a relatively young guy to be a poet editor extraordinaire. I mean, how did you fall into this line of work?
Totally by accident. I just kind of thought like, hey, the Dauphine Daily sounds like a terrible name for a magazine. Oh, let me start it. And they're just kind of, I guess I'm doing this now.
you started the magazine itself?
Yeah, I just kind of like did it on a whim. Cause like I talked a little bit about it, but I really wasn't serious about it. Just like, let me just think of a bad name. This name is terrible. Let me run this terribly, and I'll get to people whenever I feel like it.
And then you had submissions start coming in. One after another.
It really started stacking up for quite a while. Like it took, I think, about maybe a month or 2 weeks to start getting things trickling in. In the beginning, you kind of like accept a lot of stuff you don't really want sometimes, or just like, oh, I need to get over. But it's also about like picking like, oh, hey, who's gonna like who's gonna like draw attention? How can I make it seem cooler than it really is? All that. So it's also kind of fun. Like, are you familiar with what I call like inside the crack house interviews?
No, I'm not. No, tell me more.
I'll write very interesting questions for my guests that are very just fucked up. It's like kind of the weirdest things I can think about at the time. Like,
Okay.
you know, how can you pass out like naked in your neighbor's lawn but still be classy about it? You know, very deep questions.
Yeah, that is a deep one.
Oh yeah. But you know,
Okay.
I'll keep the humor and things like that. Sorry.
You make me smile, man. You've got a good
Thanks.
spirit. You make me smile. But again, I want to hear another poem. Then I'll get into another question. Let's hear another poem from your book, because I want to hear all about the book, the beginnings of it, why you felt like you needed to write it. I want to hear everything. All right.
Here's what I'm going to read. It's called "What a Great Poem." Before I was a writer, I used to think, "Oh no, she's cheating on me." 2 years later, my only reaction is, "Wait, can I watch? I'm going to write this down." The key lesson I learned from poetry is I have absolutely no self-respect. And
how does a poem begin for you? With an image, an idea, or a form?
It generally goes with the idea more, because like I was like, oh, let me just, you know what, I want to write about this like thing. Let me think about how to do it, or it's just very random. It could be like, oh, here's some words that just popped in my head. Let me just write them down, I guess, and see if they're actually decent. It's like I have done stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm taking a piss. Let me write. I really have done that. But
Okay.
Very sporadic.
Read another.
All right. This one is called Burn This. Your first book is always going to be shit. That's why I hate this one already. Maybe if you're lucky, it's the last one. But I also really enjoy irritating people, so I highly doubt it. End.
Now, do you think that your first book is shit?
This one I do.
Tell me about that.
No. Oh, it's not that I really think it's like totally bad. It's just like you get that like part of you that's like, you know what, I could have done this better. You know, maybe I could have like taken out this word, or like fucking, you know, actually wrote it better the first time. Because you just get that little party that's like wants to nitpick it. You always want to keep getting better. Because like, yeah, you know, so, I don't know. I think that's really it. I'm just very much perfectionist.
Okay. All right. I can understand that. You know, you talked about Kerouac and some others. Who are some of your other influences? Because all great writers have great writing influences. Who are some of yours?
When I was a teenager, like, I also did, like, Hunter S. Thompson quite a bit. Because I really like that way you could just get that character in there, and you would just have fun with it, go nuts. I did, like, really have like all his works and stuff, but I really liked Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I really liked his kind of weird sense of humor, but in a more modern sense, I'd go with probably just my friend John Patrick Robbins. That he's really, I don't know, we've really worked with each other a lot over the past few years. And I kind of learned, oh, wow, like, you know, I can actually learn some shit when I'm editing his stuff. Maybe I can, like, fucking rip this off slightly better and make it something different.
You know, John Patrick Robbins is one of my favorite people, one of the favorite guests of the program, so he's a good man.
Oh, he is, but I will say one, like, man, it's kind of weird because, like, anytime you work on a book, you get to a certain point where it's like, fuck, man, why am I still working on this shit? You're, like, fucking, like, want to bitch about everything. You're like, damn it, man, like, you fucking swearing at each other and all that. A lot of fun, man. It all turns out well, though.
You know, when you think about a poem, let's say that we look at a poem like it's potentially a cake that's being made, and we have ingredients. What do you view as some of the most important or prevalent ingredients that go into the concoction we call a poem?
Sometimes, like, I'll let it fester in my head for a little bit. And other times, it's just like, oh, like, I'll get just flashes where I'm like, oh, yeah, like, this seems, like, really interesting, or, like, I feel like I could really say something here. Because I really like to observe things when I write. Like, whenever, like, I rip on, like, writers and stuff like that, it's, like, ridiculous shit I've seen. It's like, there's a lot of ridiculous shit you see. And I do mean a lot. Like, let's see, I had somebody ask, like, send me a manuscript when I have never published that I will actually work on manuscripts. I had somebody send me a country music video they did. I had like a chain email from someone that was blocked me. It's silly sometimes.
Do you like being an editor?
Yes and no. I mean, like, okay, I do enjoy like being, like, having an excuse to be like, oh hey, you're like, oh hey, like, fuck you, man, or like, oh, I like this shit. Or it's like, cause if it's like, I don't know, it's like I like to mess with people. I just do. It kind of gives me like a chance to be like, not really a rush. I just find it funny at times. Because you really will see what people are like. Sometimes it's how you mess with them. But I also, on a positive note, like, whenever, like, there are actually good writers, I actually do like to encourage them, despite how I generally feel about most people.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
There's always a bit of good,
I
too,
took the opportunity to do some reading about being a poetry editor and what that looks like, and it made the following statements: that a poetry editor refines artistic voice, message, and structure in order to make your poetry as effective as possible. They'll consult with you on word choice, line and stanza length, mood, tone, clarity of message, and more to ensure your poems achieve what you want them to achieve. Is that your goal?
Actually, it is. Like, I'm not really the same way with, say, like, the Doping Daily. Like, I'm kind of relaxed with that. But when it comes to, like, projects, right, like, whenever it helps out, like, with the Whiskey City Press, I'm very determined to actually get a good book. Like, I will give myself fucking headaches for being like, oh, let me just stare at the screen all day and think, oh, does it look better this way or this way? I will move a line to see, like, oh no, does this page fit right? Does it fit right? And, like, I drive myself nuts over it. But I really always believe in trying to get the best book out of somebody. There's really an art to it.
And what do you think that art is? What would, let's say that I came to you with my book, my manuscript, and I'm like, hey, this is my blood, sweat, and tears here, what would you tell me to do first?
Well, like, first I would look at the project overall. I would think, okay, like, what do you want to do here? How can I see it? Once I get that image, like, then I'll try to really know you. If I want to try to incorporate you in that book in the best way possible, I'll, like, read through it and I'll think, okay, is this part necessary? Do we need something more here? Do we, like, what really gets what you want? Because there's always, like, a point when you're, like, I had this when I was writing my book, where it was, like, you get these minutes where you're like, think, oh, this works, this doesn't work, and you're, like, you know, you'll include stuff you shouldn't. And, like, it can take you a while to really just be like, okay, no, that really didn't work. You're just being objective, really, and just not putting yourself into it either. I'd never try to make it like, oh, yeah, this is like a book that I indirectly wrote. I mean, wow, that's so great when I already have a book I did.
But isn't that difficult, though, to keep yourself out of it? Because one of the things, well, let me say this real quickly. One of the things that I found online, and again, like I said, I did a lot of research to prepare for this interview with you. It says, speaking of collaborations, when you're working with another artist, with an artist, you are a poet yourself, and you are editing other poets' work. How much of your own preferences or ideas come through in the work of other people? How do you refrain from it becoming your project?
It just always goes to, I get vision, because once I get the vision for something, I can stay very true to it, even though if there's, like, things I personally don't, like, dig as much in it. Like, I don't know, it's like somebody gave me some, like, free verse or something. Like, I really don't like free verse very much, but, like, if they did, and I just think, oh, you know what, this really connects to whatever you're trying to tell me, I can go with it. It's like music, you know, like, just because, like, you might not love every song on an album, you gotta, like, vibe with it, you know? It's just a constant jam, kind of.
Okay. Well, look, let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back. I am here with Scott Simmons. The call-in number is 646-787-1631. That is correct. Scott, please share another poem.
All right. I'll read a new one. It's called This Is What You Wanted. Fuck the living and the dead. Fuck God and the devil. Fuck our universe for existing. Fuck myself. Fuck you too. We're all shit, so just deal with it. End. I was very happy when I wrote that, as you can tell.
Okay. How important is accessibility in your writing?
Sensibility?
Accessibility.
Oh, accessibility. Oh, it's quite important. Like, I mean, like, oh, yes, I'm going to, like, use all of these long words that, like, nobody will get. I'm going to, like, throw some colors in this shit, you know, like, maybe I'll draw, like, some in crayon. It'll be just beautiful and sexy, but, like, no. It's like, if once you get too much stuff into it, it's just not going to work out. I always try to talk to my readers, and, like, I try to make my point very clear. Otherwise, it gets, like, to the point where they wonder, why am I writing this? Like, what was the remote point to begin with? Here's how I look at it.
Okay. Now, they say that to see the world with complete honesty, one should look to comedians, artists, and poets. What do you think emerges naturally from your work?
I would say, like, I naturally go more for the comedy side because, like, I'm just a very cynical person at times.
All right.
So I'll generally get the harshness a little easier than, like, I will, like, oh, this is very heartfelt. I mean, that connects, you know, like, that just connects, like, for me, like, a little less because, like, I'm not the most, like, warm person. I'm not, like, going to walk up to strangers and be like, hi, can I hug you and shake your hand? Anything else, look at him and be like, get the hell away from me, man. But, I think, yeah, like, generally just humor is probably my stronger suit. But I always dabble with other things, too. As long as it's, like, there are serious rights that I do that I like. Like, there's one in the book that was very serious that I actually is part of me. That's the only thing I try to convey.
Okay.
As long as it's honest,
Would
it's
you
like
read,
ultimately what matters to me.
Well, would you read Why I Like Speed?
Sure, Michael. Just get the book here and with my fingers. It's very nice. Okay. Here's the poem. Why I Like Speed. I don't know if I'm coming or going, cutting my head off. There are about 20 different projects I need to work on, at least 14 different people that I need to talk to today, over 100 good habits I need to start, thousands of words that I still need to write, and at least a million random thoughts distracting me. And
that's how I see you in your workday.
That can be true. Like, I'm very, doesn't help that I'm, like, very easily distracted. Like, and I do mean very easily. Because, like, I can get, like, focusing on something, like, really, like, in-depth, and, like, fucking somebody will be like, oh, yeah, I'm chewing gum loudly. Oh, I'm going to really notice this. Like, it'll be like, oh, yeah, keep chewing that gum. And I'll just think about other things, or I'll be like, oh, shit, I need to do this thing, or this and this and this all at the same time. Like, I can be very kind of weird at times.
You know, some poets are also active in other creative areas. Where do you go away from poetry to rejuvenate yourself?
Well, I do enjoy, like, visual art quite a bit. I will, like, mess around with, like, editing photographs, drawing. I enjoy things like that. And, of course, like, since I'm texting, like, obviously I like to shoot shit. It's very mellow. But,
okay. Well, what have you shot lately?
You know, it's like just a few revolvers, but, you know, like, of course it's revolvers, man. I'm Texan. Like, I got an oil well in my backyard. You know, I ride a horse everywhere. And, like, yeah. You know, a horse gets a lot, by the way. Yeah, totally.
Oh, wow.
No. I can't ride a horse. Dude, I can barely walk up the stairs.
You should not do that to the host. You should never do that to the host. The host trying to make conversation, and you tell him something like that.
Oh, yeah.
He'll go crazy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you something fun about me, Michael. You know I can't even ride a bicycle. I shit you not.
Really?
Yeah, I can't ride a bicycle.
Well, you probably don't need to ride a bicycle out on the range. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, of course.
Read another poem, Scott.
All right. Okay, this is one called Not Everyone is Special. If your idea of being original involves total bullshit or dressing up in a bunny suit, then either don't write or at least learn to copy better. But whatever you do, avoid hailing these views too deeply, or you may just become a poet. And I don't know how to fix brain damage. There you go. End. I messed up a little bit. it.
Oh, boy. Tell me, why did you decide to write the Editor's Manifesto? Here you are, this accomplished poetry editor. You've got your own zine. Why did you decide to write a book?
It's like, it's kind of like the overall idea of it. It's somewhere between like saying, "Oh, fuck you," and like, "Oh, I love you" at the same breath. It's just like, oh, like I want to get like I want to explore like who I was like a little more, but I also wanted it to say like, you know, I wanted to call people out on shit too. But the very like I don't know, the very start of the book actually came from a very personal place, which is like it was about my mother, because she had passed, and I just remembered about her. I remember about her birthday. Just wrote something for her. But yeah, a lot of it was just like it went from like that into realizing that I can combine that with humor to kind of give you like a mix of like me, a mix of you know, like all the shit that I supposedly say, and like all bits of truth sprinkled in between that. Really it. Oh,
now,
plus I wanted to draw stuff.
Okay. Tell me about the drawings.
Okay, I'll tell you my like elaborate art process. Generally, I'll try to draw something, and I'll be like, you know what, this looks fucked up. Let me just start doing something. I think about it.
I can barely hear you, Scott.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. How about? Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, but when I like start drawing, like what I'll do is I'll look at something and I'll be like, okay, I'll draw this, and then I fuck that up, and I'm like, you know what? I'll see whatever looks cool at this point. So I start doing random stuff. It's very stream of conscious. Cause like I cannot like draw straight lines very easy.
Okay. Right. So when you're drawing, what are you learning about yourself?
It depends. Like, so generally, it's kind of like, I don't know, I like kind of punk stuff, so it's kind of like, oh, let me just draw something that annoys the hell out of me, that creeps me out, or that I don't know why I'm drawing it. Like, let's see, I did something, I forget what it was, but it's something about like a Keebler L smoking crack. Now, I'm sure there's a very deep meaning behind that, you know.
Okay. What exactly, speaking of crack, what exactly is Anti-Heroin Chic?
A poetry magazine.
It's a poetry magazine. Does it mean anything else?
If there
because I'm
is
wondering whether I've heard that
definition-
I've heard heroin chic before, but I've just never really knew what it meant.
Well, I don't either. I really just sit there like, and I'm trying to actually. You caught me off guard. I'm like thinking, wait, what? I'm sure it has
well,
some
that's
meaning.
Why they pay me the big bucks not to catch people off guard. Pay me the big bucks. I thought it was some aesthetic that related to drug culture.
I really have no idea. Like, I'm going to be honest, like, I didn't even, like, read a lot of stuff there before I sent. I just kind of, like, stuff randomly.
Read another poem, my friend.
All right.
Thanks for making me laugh, though. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
And not at you either. Just for making me.
Oh, I'd be so heartbroken.
For making my day,
me, Michael.
All right.
Okay. I'll read this one. It's called "It's Almost Funny." Nothing ever ends how you expected it, and you're not who you were when you started. This world is never as perfect as our dreams, yet all of us still need something to hope for, or we start to die. And
now that was a little different than some of your other ones. Tell me about that particular piece.
I wrote that because, like, I realized that we have this weird part of ourselves. Because, like, again, I got very I got very jaded very early on. But then I also realized that there is that little part of you that still hopes for something. And, like, it can be whatever you want. It can be like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I hope to get a dog that shits on my floor, or, like, that I want to, like, have a better life. But, like, there's always something you want. Because I realize you always have that confliction there. Like, you get that part of you that's like, this is pointless, but then there's something in you that wants to keep going on, really. You always find something to do that with.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's very profound. You're right. Sometimes it's like, I don't give a shit. Then other times it's like, hey, I do give a shit. Yeah, I understand.
Oh, yeah.
I understand. Boy, read another.
Okay. Let me get ready. Okay, the genesis of economics. Why do we use gold? Why do we use gold as currency? It's scarce, a stable source of value, and portable, but also because we found it and thought, holy fuck, this rock looks shiny. Dude, let's like totally base our society around this. Even though we've upgraded our technology, humans are still just overrated monkeys at heart. But hey, at least our stupidity is more convenient now.
Okay. Boy. Your poems, and as I flipped through the book, as I read through the book and read each title, the titles are amazingly detailed in my mind. What role should a title play for a poem?
Really, it should like get you kind of the vibe of it, or it should really throw you off. Ultimately, to grab your attention. Like it can, like I can write something like it just gives it like a totally bizarre title, but it will get you to notice it and really remember it. I think that's kind of the point of it, from my perspective.
So, what role should the title play? Let's say you're a beginning poet. How important should titling your poem be? How important should that be?
I think it's very like important because like okay, it's like I'm bad about it in the sense like I'll just start randomly writing something and I don't always title it. I'll just write like I'm like weird and like nuts. Like I have all these like notebooks, like these little notes and stuff that have scrawled everywhere. Like I'll end up finding, but yeah, title is very important because like otherwise it's just not going to pop very well. Because like it's much more easy to forget. Oh, sorry.
Well, no, I just want you to share another title poem.
Okay, well, I've found something that is very, very profound. I'll read it.
All right.
It's called All Babies Are Ugly Except Mine. My cat is the cutest one.
Let me be quiet. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me take a deep breath here.
Yeah, let me focus too.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. My cat is the cutest one in the whole world. And any music I don't listen to sucks. If you disagree with me, then you're a sexist pig or whatever other insult that I make up. Because according to myself, I'm never wrong, and my shit smells like scented candles. You could take this writing as seriously as I take myself, but my participation trophies sure are shiny. I'm just saying, wink. Wow, I really prepared deeply for that end.
Yeah, you did. I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
Because you are the one and only Scott Simmons. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, dude, like, I talk to myself. I'm like, Scott, like, can you at least, like, shit in the toilet this time or, like, not? I think not.
Read another poem. Read another poem, please.
All right. How about World Catholic Congress?
Okay.
For 13 years, I was Protestant. Then for 1 year, I was Catholic. After that, I was Jewish for 2 years. been a Buddhist for 6 months, a pagan for around 2-3 months, and a Satanist for a week. My tip for getting through life is learn how to make up shit quickly. It's the only thing that keeps you sane. And
share that one more time. It was muffled.
okay, I'll do this again, Michael. I don't know if I could ever compare it to my original performance, but I'll try.
Okay. I know.
The world's fastest convert. For 13 years, I was Protestant. Then for 1 year, I was Catholic. After that, I was Jewish for 2 years. Then a Buddhist for 6 months. A pagan for around 2 to 3 months. And a Satanist for 1 week. My tip for getting through life is learn how to make shit up quickly. It's the only thing that keeps you sane. And
I like that poem because, do you know, we have something in common? I was Buddhist for 6 months, too. Man.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what got you into it? What got you, out of it?
Well, the reason that I wanted to try Buddhism, I wanted to understand the nature of suffering. And, to be quite honest with you, I had suffered a heart attack. And I wanted to understand, and had quadruple bypass surgery, and I wanted to understand why people suffered. And I was looking at Christian Buddhism, Christianity. I looked at all of them because I just wanted to find out what does it mean to suffer. But I came to the conclusion that, what really happened, the reason I let it go, is that I shared with a friend of mine that I was thinking about Buddhism, and she said, well, don't call on me when Jesus calls you. And I said, well, maybe I need to leave Buddhism alone because I do want to see Jesus. So that's how I got out of it.
You know how I got out of it?
It was funnier than that. You had to be there.
No, I get it. I think what got me out of it was the fact that I realized, wow, this is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah, but I did come to the realization, though, on a serious note, that in terms of suffering, that if you can understand that suffering is going to be part of your existence in some way, shape, or form, and you can accept that, you'll be at peace. There's going to be some level of suffering that we experience. And for me, that was enough maybe that was all I needed in terms of Buddhism, was just to get to that realization that there is going to be some suffering. If I can accept it and understand that there's going to be some level of suffering, I'll be okay.
Well, it's good, always, it's a very good thing to take away from it, because there's always something you can learn from things.
Oh, yeah, very much so. See, I'm Southern Baptist, so I had to give up 50 years of Baptist belief to move into Buddhism, and that was hard for me to do. But enough about that. Let's get back on your poetry. Read another poem.
All right. It's called Don't Worry, I Hate You Too. My problems... Okay. Try to read a little louder.
Okay.
My problems are a lot like gunshot wounds because statistically they are mostly self-inflicted or started by a bunch of greedy assholes. Damn, my sheltered life is a real bitch, isn't it? And
let's take a brief break. Right. We'll be right back.
All right.
back. I'm here with Scott Simmons, the one and only Scott Simmons, probably my most interesting guest of all time.
Man, that is like really exaggerating my importance. Yeah, I don't think I'm that interesting.
Well,
yeah,
after
Michael,
our conversation about Buddha and Jesus, I figured I had to pull a rabbit out of a hat, you know? So, back to the editor's manifesto. If you had to convince a friend or colleague to read your book, man, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, generally I'd say, hey, man, look, I promise you that this book will make you feel better about yourself by comparison. You can read it and think, holy shit, this guy can't even, read, let alone, write. Man. I'd also, tell them, there's, some personal, some very personal stuff in there that, you can just, use on me later. I'm just saying. You're very masochistic.
No, you're very bright. Very, very bright. Like I said, again, I enjoyed reading the book. I learned a lot about myself, and I think I learned some things about you as well. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. What do you think, Scott? We've got a question. There's a caller.
Oh.
We've got a caller, Scott. Let's bring this person on.
All right.
Good evening. Area code 757. First three numbers are 376. You're on the air with Scott.
Hello. This is Ron Murphy.
Hello.
International voiceover of Man to the Stars. And Scott Simmons' #1 best friend.
Ron, you're not my best friend. You just stole my...
Tonight. I really love that ensemble. I'm wearing a blue cocktail dress made by Versace, and I stole it. And currently in the Shady Pines mental facility.
Okay, I'm not surprised you stole the dress, but dude, just at least bring my wallet back, man. You don't really need any more crack. You have enough, dude. You're starting to make it now. Fuck.
Remember, you can PayPal Ron Murphy if you would like to support my addiction. I want to say, Michael, you do a fine show. You're much better than John Stossel, that dirty bastard, who's been holding me down, because we know what he is. He's clearly a lesbian, and I know it.
Ron,
I take it you two guys know each other, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I know everybody, because I am everywhere. I am like Otis, the mighty god in Valhalla. I'm not currently on drugs, and I am mentally unstable.
Well, do you have a question for Scott?
I do have a question. Scott, do you ever like to recreate almost the feeling of going back into the womb? So is that why you wake up every morning when you pass out in a dumpster?
That's kind of fucked up, Rob.
I was joking. I have a serious question. How does one purchase your book? That I may or may not have stolen from your house.
Oh, if you want to purchase my book, you go to Amazon. But I have a question for you, Ron.
Okay.
What? My question for you is, why do you take a shit on my pillow again?
Oh my God.
Oh, I did that. You are teasing me. That was probably John Stossel. I go with he does. He's an easy man. And Mike, you stay sexy. This is Ron Murphy. No, welcome.
But before I cut you off, do you have another question for Scott?
Do I have a question, boy?
Another question. You have another question before I cut you off?
Oh, I do. What color underwear are you currently wearing?
Let me check. Actually, it's white, I think. Yeah.
Good man. I like John Stossel, who likes the cartridge pants. I've heard it. I know Geraldo. He has a mustache, and it's beautiful. You can always trust a man with a mustache. My writing is great, and I have stolen it from many people, and I put my name on it, so therefore it's mine. I wrote my new poem, The Raven, today. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for calling.
You're quite welcome. You have a good evening.
You too.
I'll see you later, I guess, Ron. Okay.
Nothing like having good friends, you know?
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm just saying, dude, like, never give him your credit card number, man. Like, Ron Murphy will use it.
What? Here's a serious question for you. There's so much happening in the world. We're coming out of a pandemic. We might even be going back into a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Another part of it. What do you view as being the role of a poet in modern-day society?
It's generally just, well, it should always be, like, you should entertain. Like, ultimately, it's, like, you need to find ways to make people laugh or just, like, just kind of see stuff where it really is. Not being all, like, stuffy about it, but just really make it fun and just make people happy. That's really it. Because, like, it's depressing as shit as it is. It's, like, not getting much better.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's true. Share another poem. We've got time for, like, maybe 3 more.
All right. I'll read you, let's see. Pick one here. Here's an editor. I've rejected an aspiring poet today. Now there's a bad feeling in my stomach. Maybe he was wrong to crush their dreams. Oh, wait, I burped, and now it's gone. I'm so very remorseful about it. Time for the next one. End.
Read book review.
Oh, okay. Let me get to that.
See, I read your book, Scott. I read your book. I just want you to know I read it.
I'm very sorry for you, Michael. All right, man. I'll read book review. I got it pulled up. Okay. A book review by Scott Simmons. Although I found this book subpar in almost every single way imaginable, unfortunately, I have to write this review positively. So honestly, the best compliment I can give this book is that it's made out of the paper is made out of is recyclable. So theoretically, it can eventually become something actually worth reading. So here's the rest of my bullshit spiel. The editor's manifesto has changed my perception on writing. Some critics have described it as being a hybrid between Cat in the Hat, The Odyssey, and The Room. This book has personally helped to inspire me to quit my meth addiction that I started once I began working on it. The words are organic, vibrant, and fresh, like our sponsor, Generic Air Freshener. It has also mostly acceptable grammar, although there are some parts that could use some refinement. This handsome young writer and editorial superstar still has a clearly bright future ahead of him in literature. I recommend this book to anyone looking to hear a hip and fresh take on the world from a reclusive 23-year-old. However, let me read this. I would also recommend it to you. Yes, you right there. You already have it. A second copy can help you support your coffee table, or it can even be thrown as a projectile at your neighbors. And, man, that was like the biggest load of bullshit in the whole book. I wouldn't buy it.
Here's something else I read as some advice that an editor should give to the people who submit their work. 1, just be your own worst critic. A poem is only as good as you want it to be. 3, edit constantly. 4, be constantly asking what is the line, what is that line, that word doing, and 5, have you finished? Does any of that make sense?
That is like too many steps for me to follow because I can only count to 3.
Well, I'll be your own worst
Nah, it
critic.
does. No, you always are, though.
Yeah, that's true, my friend. Very last thing, and I'll let you go for tonight. One more poem, though. Who is Scott Simmons? And if I encountered your work, what should I look for?
Self-deprecational humor. I would say a little bit of heart. I do have some.
Yeah, you do. You do.
A little bit of pretty much sometimes like awkward rambling when I feel like it.
Mhm.
And a bit of everything, really. It's like I can.
Okay.
I'll generally go with whatever like I'm focused on. That's a very in-depth answer, but no, Scott Simmons. Well, I don't like talking about myself in third person, so let me rephrase that. It's like, no, I'm just like, I don't know, I just go with it, really. There's no deep, like, everything in there might be. No, it's just me being honest.
And you know what, Scott? That's what comes across tonight, your honesty. That really comes across, my friend.
I appreciate
because I have
it. Also
thoroughly
enjoyed.
Yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, man.
No, I've had a lot of fun, Michael. I really have. Like,
well,
this is like a lot more.
I was going to say, I think for someone to be only 23 years old, you're almost extraordinary.
I wouldn't go to that.
I did say almost. I don't want your. I wanted to go to your head.
Good. That's good.
I'm very proud of you, young man. You've accomplished so much. I mean, you started your own zine. You've got your book. You've got your life. And you're living.
And, like, those are all cool except for the last one. Like, my life's kind of like,
it's kind of rocky.
All right, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
so
it's just like, no, it's not like exciting. It's not like I'm like going out and like, oh yeah, it's like I'm gonna go to like a new continent. I'm going to like get naked in the streets all the time.
Well, if you do get naked in the street, do it while you're riding a bicycle. You know what I'm saying?
No, I will. Yeah.
Well, leave us with the poem, my friend. Your
all right.
final.
I'm actually. All right, Michael. Yeah, I'll read one. I'll read you the.
Oh.
All right, this was actually go like a serious one, just like what started the book.
Okay.
But it's Black Moth.
All right.
Black Moth. Sometimes I act like I hate you, but I never can. I just hated the things you made me see and how fast you had to leave me. But no matter all the terrible things I've said or the disappointment I've been as a son, I still want to say, I love you, Mom. And
oh, it's beautiful. I like that. Touched me when I read that in the book. You're a good man, Scott Simmons, and I want to thank you for being with me tonight. I wish you nothing but the best, and I'd like you to come back again, man, and share some more of your work.
I appreciate it, Michael. And, I hope you have a good night. And, I'll be open to, like, coming on the show again, if you want me, of course. Like, shit, I wouldn't.
All right.
Like, all right, man.
Oh, well, great. All right. Well, have a nice one. And to our listening audience, this was a strange one tonight. A strange one, but a good one. So to all of you, take care and have a great week. All right. Good night, everybody.
You have just listened to the Quintessential Listening Poetry Online Radio Podcast with your host, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. And make sure to catch our next episode.